Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
Find a living in fisheries. The UAS Fisheries Technology Program offers online study from anywhere in Alaska, plus labs and workshops in many Alaska towns.
Is most likely a chum.
Find your living without leaving where you are. Fisheries Technology from UAS.
The National Weather Service.
Hello everyone, and thanks for joining us for this Friday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Dave Percy, and I'll be hosting tonight's show. On the satellite imagery from yesterday, we had good low pressure here in the Gulf of Alaska. Of course, spinning moisture and clouds right up to the North Gulf Coast into the southeast interior areas. And back to the northwest here, we had a band of rain and clouds trying to work its way into the central interior, back up to the eastern Arctic coast, and then a lot of moisture back out here to the west that today has moved right on in, and quite an area of rain falling here across the central interior, some of that pushing southward and all the way to the east and northeast up in across the Yukon there, Porcupine River right over to the eastern border, and just clouds here, Copper River Basin, a little bit of sun all the way down into portions of the Kenai Peninsula, but really more clouds than sun today, and some gusty winds kicking in across south central Alaska, mostly South Anchorage area or West Anchorage. You can gust 20 to 30 miles an hour, quite a bit windier in Cook Inlet with Kenai reporting gusts close to 40 miles an hour during the afternoon hours. That low pressure in the Gulf here weakening, slipping on into the southeast coast there with a trough aloft right through here. So showers continued there today, mostly over the central and northern areas. Not too much on down to the south. And out in the Bering Sea, not a lot going on. Fair deal of moisture sliding in to the far western areas. Shimia socked in this afternoon with overcast skies at 200 feet and a half-mile in fog throughout much of the afternoon. So low IFR out in that area. Rain, fog, drizzle for the Pribilof Islands, and then heavier rain from St. Lawrence Island right into the interior. On the chart today, you can see got this frontal action here from that low up over the northeast interior, right back out to another one there southwest of St. Matthew Island. In those areas, nearly an inch of rain falling today, during the day today, from late last night into today. Nome on over to Golovin and Portman, picking up about an inch of rain today, with rainfall down across the McGrath area there into the afternoon, spreading in toward the central interior areas with some scattered showers along the Alaska Range, mostly just clouds on down to the south here. Sunshine, Kodiak Island, variable high clouds there. Areas of sunshine also along the Alaska Peninsula, back out toward the eastern Aleutians and in that area. And then up to the north there, kind of rain tapering off over the northern Koyukuk Valley. A few scattered showers over the central Brooks Range and some isolated stuff back on the western Arctic coast. Otherwise, drier conditions, but still mostly cloudy there across the north and northwest interior. Showers here over the southeast coast brought well, about 1/4 of an inch of rain today to Sitka, and also 1/10 of an inch, say, give or take, there at Juneau, with just a few hundredths there to the south. A little bit of sunshine breaking out over the southern areas there. Once this slips on through, this area back here, all high pressure. So again, once that moves on off, later on tomorrow, finally, high pressure will just move in and take over for the weekend there for the Panhandle, especially tomorrow afternoon through Sunday. And for tonight, again, showers on the decrease. Something may drag through the southern areas here along that upper trough axis through here, tapering off to the north, maybe some clearing. Again, nothing off the coast there, a few clearing periods, areas of clouds. that same pattern right over to Kodiak Island into Bristol Bay there. Got a low developing here just west-northwest of Amonic, and about 1,007 millibars, a trough through here. A lot of moisture streaming up into the southwest coast there with rain. Gusty winds continue. Scammon Bay seeing gusts up to 45 miles an hour today with 30 to 35 mile an hour wind gusts today, both at St. Michael and on up to Unalakleet with 15 to 30 mile per hour winds into the central interior in advance of this front. That'll continue into this evening, and low pressure up over the eastern Brooks Range or just south of the mountains there, and rain with that front up to the northwest. Drier conditions back to the over the north slope. Next trough bringing a chance, increasing chances of rain and snow into the northwest coast late tonight, and more likely on into tomorrow. As you see, that weak trough here brings a little bit of moisture. Again, rain, snow, drizzle, light amounts, so nothing too terribly heavy, into the central Arctic coast on back toward Wainwright, Point Lay, but staying dry here over the northwest valleys. Noatak Valley here in the northwest. Maybe some sunshine, northerly winds on the increase there for St. Lawrence Island through the Bering Strait as this deepening low pressure area pulls inland over the Yukon Delta tomorrow. So quite a sharp contrast in the winds here. North picking up, and then southwest pretty gusty again tomorrow here from Kuskokwim Bay right up in toward the central interior areas. Not too bad of a day tomorrow, south central Alaska. Partly sunny conditions, maybe some isolated showers or two there over the Prince William Sound area, maybe back toward Portage, but partly mostly sunny Copper River Basin. Look for some scattered thunderstorm activity to develop here over the upper Tanana Valley. To the northeast there in advance of this frontal system, partly sunny, I'll go for the southeast coast, and light breezes along with that. Weak high pressure at the surface off the coast as well as aloft, and a lot of low clouds, fog, and drizzle kind of move on in to the eastern Aleutians, the Alaska Peninsula, and extend all the way back out toward Shimia and Attu. Then looking ahead to Sunday, again that system pulling eastward now, the upper level trough dropping southward. That turns the flow more southerly, so that should pull some moisture definitely into Cook Inlet and the Kenai Peninsula. Northern Cook Inlet, look for an increasing chance of rain up toward Anchorage, maybe Palmer, maybe staying west of the Susitna Valley, but mostly sunny, warmer there, warm conditions for the Copper River Basin. Again, isolated thunderstorms breaking out in advance of that front with a narrower band of rainfall along that frontal system from the central interior back up to the northeast, and that sort of hanging on to the eastern Arctic coast there with those backing winds aloft over the next couple of days as that trough drops southward. But another system pulling into the northwest, some warm front action will spread some possibilities of light rain or drizzle into the central Arctic coast. Air mass a lot warmer with this system than the one that's pulling off to the east, taking the cold air with it pulling away to the east too. Otherwise, high pressure out here over the Bering Sea, light winds with areas of low clouds and fog. Another system way out west may affect Shimia and Attu, and that's about it. This trough, or this front, dropping across and south and east of the Alaska Peninsula by late Sunday. That'll increase the chance of rain, Shelikof Strait, mainly western Kodiak Island. Another trough right through here. That'll keep probably some light rain going for the Kenai Peninsula, definitely into the afternoon, but mostly sunny and warm all the way down across the southeast coast there with light winds, maybe some low clouds and fog along the coastal areas in places, but definitely looking like a much drier weekend coming up for that area. And for temperatures this afternoon, upper 50s to lower to mid 60s here for the Panhandle, 57, quite a common temperature. Sitka, Juneau, Wrangell, Wrangell and Petersburg's 59, Klawock 66 at Annette, and mid 60s here through the Copper River Basin. At 64 is at McCarthy. Gulkana up to 70 this afternoon with a 58 at Gunsight, 64 there in Talkeetna. Same thing in Kenai, those gusty south winds, 61 in Homer, 62 in Kodiak, sunshine. And up in the valley there, kind of a range here, 72 over at Northway, cooling back into the upper 50s there at Fairbanks, and 56 up at Bettles with a 45-degree reading at Anatuvik, 54 over at Arctic Village, Umiat Airfield, 51, otherwise lower to mid-40s along all of the Arctic coast, 40s and 50s up here in the northwest, 50s down across just about all of the southwest from that 56 at McGrath to 55 at Stebbins, same thing at Holy Cross, also, let's see, that was St. Mary's on out to Amonic with 57 in Bethel, mid to upper 50s here along the coast, lower 50s for the Pribilofs, 50s for the Aleutians, and 60s with some sunshine from about Unalaska right on up the Alaska Peninsula. And for the lows tonight, 50s for that same area, lower 50s, upper 40s for the Aleutians, coolest up here in the northwest, dropping into the mid-30s on out to the central Arctic coast, 40s to mid-50s here, northeast to southwest, back toward Kuskokwim Bay, mildest over the Yukon Delta, lower 50s for the southeast coast. And highs for tomorrow, 65 to 70, 71, maybe even some places reaching 72 here, Copper River Basin over toward Northway, maybe Tok, and 60s for the southeast coast. Again, a little more sunshine, drier conditions there. Lower 40s to mid-50s, north slope in the Arctic coast. And not too bad, lower 60s, not all that great actually there for the southwest interior. And then moving on to flying weather for tomorrow morning, got IFR in the forecast here to start the day with early on. This is actually a map for 4 in the morning and also up along the North Gulf Coast there. Possible IFR here up the west side of the, or right up along the western Alaska Range into the interior, back down along all of the southwest coast, of course out into the Bering Sea and some of that catching the eastern Arctic coast. Otherwise, tomorrow afternoon improves pretty dramatically here into the north and northwest with some marginal stuff right along that frontal boundary on up to the northeast. The IFR here retreats to even south of St. Paul, down along the southern Bering Sea into the west central Aleutians. VFR, Kodiak Island again up into south central Alaska, lingering marginal conditions there for western Prince William Sound and along the North Gulf Coast, and improving conditions throughout the Panhandle. Passes Anatuvik and Adigan will be VFR tomorrow, possibly even Sunday as well, with Lake Clark and Merrill. Marginal VFR, possible marginal VFR in both western approaches. Rainy VFR, deteriorating conditions throughout the day with lowering ceilings and visibilities, probably becoming marginal. Windy, marginal VFR. Isabel also looks marginal, but Mentasta, VFR. Tanita, forecast VFR as well. Portage, IFR, becoming marginal. And for Chilkoot and White, VFR. Freezing levels, again showing the colder air back up here to the northwest with that frontal boundary lying right through there, so a lot less of a contrast or thermal gradient to the south of that at about 10,000 feet. And that upper level trough with that cooler pool, 8,000 feet, pulling away from the southeast coast. And for the icing threats for tomorrow, again along that frontal boundary, all that moisture here from the southwest coast, Nunivak Island, right up toward the near or just south of the Arctic Village area, the northern upper Yukon Flats area. Otherwise, no icing to the south, no icing back up to the northwest or north. And for the winds aloft, here's that trough sharpening up, and actually will develop another center here that'll begin to pull southeast and then eastward. That'll increase the chances for rain over south central Alaska tomorrow. Good jet tomorrow anyway for southwest winds at 100 knots, and I meant for Sunday, increasing the chances of rain for south central Alaska. This upper low weakening, pulling off to the east finally, so upper high pressure following that in behind. You actually go northeast aloft there across much of the Panhandle for tomorrow. And then at 9,000 feet, good southwest flow here. Again, this sharpening trough right through here digging southward, with the main trough up here pulling off to the east. So southwest flow 25 to 30 knots here from the southwest coast, actually the eastern Bering Sea, right up into the interior. South light winds to the north light winds, west northwesterlies 5 to 10 for the Panhandle, and southwest 20 to 25 all the way back toward Adak and Atka. Westerlies 25 knots, strongest on the east side of the Arctic coast. And for 3,000 feet, much the same pattern there, 20 to maybe 25 knots on the Arctic coast. And that band of southwesterlies, 25 to 35 knots, northeast interior, right back down to the Nunivak Island area to Cape Newenham. Pretty brisk there for the Alaska Peninsula as well, diminishing back here to the west. Then those northerlies following that trough in behind there, 30 knots from the Bering Strait, St. Lawrence Island, and that'll be kind of shifting eastward on Sunday. Otherwise, from the North Gulf Coast, Copper River Basin, southeast interior areas, pretty light winds right on down along the southeast coast. And from there, we'll go to turbulence, and with the winds here, eastern Aleutians right up through northeast there. Occasional light to isolated moderate chop, more of the moderate variety here over the mountainous terrain back to the west and down over the Kilbrooks. And then those northerly winds coming in behind, occasional moderate chop or light to isolated moderate from the Bering Strait, St. Lawrence Island, maybe down to St. Matthew, mostly below or all below about 5,000 feet. And after hangar flying, I'll be back with a look at the marine forecasts.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary O'Connor. On behalf of the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation, thank you to Alaska Public Media for allowing us to bring you hangar flying. We are glad you could join us this evening, where we are happy to have Noreen Price back on our program. She is a new accident investigator with the National Transportation Safety Board. Welcome back, Noreen.
Thank you.
So on our last show, we talked about how you got started in aviation and a little bit about your background in the Navy. A lot of people in aviation appreciate the investigations and the reports that the National Transportation Safety Board issues after accidents and incidents. And I know a lot of pilots look forward to reading those. Did you always know that you wanted to be an accident investigator or work at the NTSB?
I don't think anybody knows when they're young that they want to be an accident investigator. It's one of those things when you're in aviation, you start flying or maintaining airplanes and you lose a friend or two, you suddenly become engrossed in aviation safety. So I didn't always know it, but about 10 years ago, I had a real close call myself, and yeah, that day I really questioned my own abilities and how could I make such a terrible mistake, and it kind of led me to a journey into human factors and accident investigation. And then I went to Aviation Safety Officer School, where they do accident investigation courses, lab training, operational risk management, and human factors training, and I just really found specifically the human factors piece just fascinating, and I really enjoyed it. When I left the Navy, I went to University of Southern California. I went to some of their courses in safety and security and accident investigation. And once again, I love the investigative piece of it, taking the technical pieces along with the human factors pieces and looking at an investigation incident top to bottom. I really enjoy that type of work.
So you had a lot of experience in the Navy and with your previous job working in safety in the aviation industry. Is there one experience that you think will be particularly helpful in preparing you for the NTSB job?
One experience, I mean, my own, I think our own personal experience are the ones that we hold deep in our hearts. One was a friend of mine who died, and he was you know, one of these awesome pilots, the people with lots of hours, lots of experience, great leader, great friend. You think that person will never take a perfectly good plane and fly it into the ground. And he did one day, and I saw it on TV. So those sort of things make you think, you know, if people like that can have an accident, certainly any one of us can have a bad day. And if we're not on top of our game when that bad day comes, it's going to be a bad day for us too. That experience stayed with me, and it still stays with me till this day. And I've had my own close calls that made me think about all the things that happened that day that I had control of, that I didn't mitigate when I should have. So those are two kind of experiences that I think I'll take with me on this job.
I think you're absolutely right. When we see somebody that we've looked up to, our heroes, our mentors, and see something bad happen to them, we realize how it could indeed happen to us.
Absolutely, yes. Nobody's perfect.
Exactly. And we can all have a bad day.
Yes.
So you mentioned human factors a little bit earlier. Is that one area that you hope to work with and specialize in, or have a special focus within the NTSB?
Well, as investigators in the regional level, which I do, we're everything pretty much. We don't focus on one particular area, but the area within human factors that I have a high interest in is fatigue, and it's on one of the NTSB's most wanted lists this year. It's worth looking at on the NTSB site if you haven't done that yet. But here in Alaska, it's very interesting because of the circadian rhythms and the daylight darkness issues. I know personally I have issues with fatigue in Alaska, and I know everybody does. I'm always talking about pilots about how do you manage this fatigue issue? And when it comes to the commercial operations, they have certain requirements, right? But all the private pilots, the GA pilots, you know, they don't. 135 operators don't have to have fatigue management programs. So those are areas that I'm particularly interested in, because we all have to pay attention to the fatigue, not just the commercial operators. So I will be looking closely at those issues when I see them. But
oh, good. We'll look forward to hearing more about fatigue in the accident reports then, and some pretty thorough look backs, which I know the NTSB does after there's been a fatal accident. Quickly, is there one piece of information that you would give to somebody who is looking for a career with the NTSB?
I would say stick closely to the ntsb.gov site. There are a lot of great resources on that site, and I think the best thing you can do is really read the accident reports when they come out. Look at everything from the preliminary reports to the factual reports to probable cause, and then there's also a lot of training that's available with the NTSB. There's Safety Compass online, Safety Alerts online. You can sign up for all those things, and I think if you were interested in that type of work, that'd be a great place to start.
Okay, thank you for that bit of advice. We appreciate it. And thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate your support, and we appreciate you tuning in to Hangar Flying. Until next time, fly safely.
Welcome back. Today's sea ice analysis shows that the heavier white zone here is gone now on the east side there, and even diminished some here on the west side, although there's some ice hugging the coastline here to the west with those westerly winds keeping it that way, and actually the main pack ice over the next several days with those west winds expected to shift east and northeast up to 20 nautical miles. So moving on to the southeast coast, northwesterlies 15 to 20 out along the coast there, much lighter up to the north. Lynn Canal increasing, northern Lynn Canal increasing 25 knots, seas building to 5 feet tomorrow afternoon. Otherwise, southwest Stevens Passage becomes light northwest there for Clarence Strait. And for Sunday, northwesterlies continue about the same here, 15 to 20 along the coast. Those seas, though, all the way down to 3 to 4 feet. And northwest 10 to 15 inside waters there, 2 to 3 foot seas. Northern Lynn Canal, no change from tomorrow, 25 knots, strongest in the afternoon, 5 foot seas. And for Prince William Sound tomorrow, variable to south at 15, seas 3 feet or less. Small craft advisories for northern Cook Inlet that become stronger small crafts there south of the Forelands, 30 knots, and then 20 to 25 knotters right down across Shelikof Strait. Southwest 20 knots there for the east side of Kodiak Island. North Gulf Coast southerlies at about 10 to 15 with 4 to 5 foot seas. Then they pick up a little bit on Sunday here, especially for the western North Gulf Coast, Barren Islands, Kodiak Island, 20 to 25 knots, 5 to 7 foot seas. Southeast 25 for Kamishak Bay. Small craft advisory southerly winds in the forecast for all of Cook Inlet with 6 foot seas or so. And for the Bristol Bay zone, southwest 20, same thing here from Sitkinak to Castle Cape. The Alaska Peninsula, southwest 25 knots. And for Sunday, becomes northwest here on the Bering Sea side. Still small craft advisories, Cape Sarachev, right on up to Sitkinak, and westerlies at 20 for Bristol Bay. For the Eastern Aleutian, southwest 20 knots, seas 5 to 7 feet. That extends actually same pattern right out to Adak, and then lighter west-southwesterlies to the west. Those become southeast on Sunday there, but only about 15 knots west of Adak to Shimia. Easterlies 10 to 15, so laying down pretty good here for the central Aleutians, and then kind of a variable direction here, but north to northwest 15 to 20 for Unalaska Island. And for the southwest coast, small craft advisory south of Nunivak Island, 20 knots from the northwest north of there. Small craft advisories, northerly winds kicking in. St. Lawrence Island, 30 knotters there for the northern Bering Sea. Small craft advisories for the Pribilofs. And for Sunday, 25 knot winds here for the southwest coast, right out in the northwest. Westerlies dropping off there, St. Lawrence Island. Same thing for St. Matthew, north 20 for the Pribilofs. Arctic coast, south to southwest, 15 knots on the east side. Central coast, west 15, west side picking up to 20. Northwesterlies, Cape Beaufort on down to the Bering Strait. And for Sunday, southwest 15 here from Wales to Cape Thompson, and then 20 knotters right through this zone. Westerlies, 15 knots everywhere else. Seas 4 feet to the west and 2 feet to the east. For tonight, again, a lot of rain with this system. Flood advisories out here for the Seward Peninsula, right into the central interior there, including the Fairbanks area, and along the northern slopes of the Alaska Range. For the incoming rain, with rain back to the northeast, drier behind the front, some more moisture dropping in from the northwest there brings increasing chances of rain late tonight, more like 4 a.m. or after for the western Arctic coastal areas. Fair conditions, variable clouds, Kodiak, right across the Gulf of Alaska, upper weakening trough, showers diminishing for the Panhandle to hopefully a partly sunny day in just about all areas there. Another sunny day, Kodiak Island. Look for partly sunny skies, south central Alaska as well. A few isolated showers, northern Prince William Sound. Rain northeast to southwest through this area. Chance of thunderstorms over the upper Tanana Valley, White Mountains, and those locations. And then for Sunday, that system here pulls eastward, upper level low again dropping southward. We're getting more of a southeasterly flow developing aloft, so that should pull some chances of rain up even into northern Cook Inlet. Better chances though down across the Kenai Peninsula to Kodiak Island. A narrower band of rain up to the northeast there with scattered thunderstorms. Mostly sunny for the southeast coast. Have a great weekend.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.